Growing older doesn't scare me. Losing control over my own life does. I don't fear wrinkles or slower mornings. I fear a world where someone else decides when I wake up, what I eat, when I'm allowed outside, and when I can see the people I love. That's why I made a decision early. I'll never let myself fade quietly into a system where my choices no longer matter. For many people, the idea of ending up in a nursing home carries a deeper fear than they ever say out loud. It's not just about the place. It's about the silent loss of dignity, the slow erosion of small freedoms until one day, you realize there's nothing left that you choose for yourself. This isn't about blaming every facility or every family. Some relatives make hard choices out of love, hoping to give someone they care about a safer, easier life. Others choose convenience, handing off responsibility the moment life becomes complicated. Either way, the result is often the same for the person at the center of it, a quiet loss of voice. In this video, we'll explore why the fear of nursing homes runs deeper than we often admit, how subtle shifts steal independence over time, and most importantly, what you can do now to stay in control of your own future. Because a dignified old age isn't something anyone gives you. It's something you have to fight to protect. The fear of nursing homes isn't about the walls, the routines, or the food. It's about something harder to name, the slow fading of control over your own life. For many older adults, the thought of living under someone else's rules, no matter how well-intentioned, feels like a final surrender. It's not the building itself that creates fear. It's the idea of no longer deciding the small, ordinary things that make a person feel human. Margaret knew this better than most. She had always been independent, managing her home and finances without help well into her 70s. But after a minor fall at home, her adult children began discussing safer options. They meant well. They wanted to protect her. But in the conversations that followed, Margaret realized she was no longer part of the decision-making. Plans were being made around her, not with her. One afternoon, she overheard her daughters say, "It's for the best. She won't even realize the difference once she settles in." Margaret never forgot that sentence. No one asked her if she was ready to leave her home. No one asked what she wanted her life to look like. The decision came packaged as love, but to Margaret, it felt like being quietly erased. Not every family acts from the same place. Some truly believe they're giving their loved one a better life, offering safety, stability, medical care. Others, consciously or not, seek relief from the stress, the responsibility, the disruption that aging parents can bring to their own lives. Both groups often convince themselves that moving someone to a facility is the right thing to do, regardless of how the person at the center feels. The tragedy is that even when choices are made with good intentions, the person who matters most, the one whose life is being changed, can feel powerless. That feeling isn't irrational. It's rooted in what many nursing homes, despite best efforts, inevitably create: strict schedules, limited autonomy, a life where personal preferences are secondary to operational needs. Meals are served at fixed times. Wake-up calls follow a standard routine. Medical treatments happen on a set schedule. Visitors must navigate designated hours. And somewhere in the middle of all that, individuality becomes harder to maintain. For someone who has spent decades making their own choices, large and small, this shift hits harder than most people realize. It's not about the size of the room or the quality of the food. It's about waking up each day knowing that your life now runs on someone else's timetable. This fear stays quiet for a long time. Many seniors don't speak about it openly. They don't want to seem ungrateful or difficult. They don't want to add guilt to the emotional burden families already carry. But the fear is there. It grows in every small decision made without asking. It deepens with every conversation where plans are made for someone instead of with them. Independence, once taken for granted, starts to feel fragile. And once it's gone, it's rarely given back. In the next part, we'll look at how that loss doesn't happen overnight and how small, well-meaning decisions can quietly add up to a life that no longer feels like your own. The loss of independence rarely happens all at once. It arrives quietly, hidden in moments that seem too small to matter. At first, it feels like help. Someone offers to handle your grocery shopping because you seem tired. A family member suggests managing your medication schedule to make things easier. It's one task, then another, each offered with a smile, each accepted without much thought. Frank never saw it happening. He was 78 when his daughter moved back into town. At first, it felt like a blessing. She offered to take care of errands, set up his doctor's appointments, handle the bills he hated dealing with. It made sense. He didn't enjoy sitting on the phone with insurance companies or keeping track of payment dates. Letting her handle it freed him up to spend more time on what he loved: gardening, tinkering in the garage, visiting old friends. But over time, the balance shifted. One day, she started ordering his groceries online, deciding what he needed without asking. A few weeks later, she moved all his medications into labeled boxes, setting strict times for when he should take them. Eventually, she scheduled his doctor's visits without telling him in advance. Frank's days began to revolve around plans he hadn't made. He told himself it was practical, that he was lucky to have someone who cared. But something kept gnawing at him, a growing sense that he wasn't choosing much of anything anymore. The loss of control didn't come with a confrontation. There was no single moment he could point to and say, "This is where it changed." It was gradual, made up of 1,000 small surrenders, each one so reasonable in the moment that resisting seemed petty. By the time Frank realized how much he had given away, it felt too late to reclaim it without seeming ungrateful or stubborn. He still lived in his own home, slept in his own bed, but somewhere along the way, the ownership of his life had shifted. This is how control slips away. Not through force, not through open conflict, but through kindness that turns into assumption, and assumption that becomes habit. The real danger is not in accepting help. It's in forgetting to draw the line between support and surrender. It's in letting others make decisions for you without noticing that you're no longer part of the conversation. For many older adults, by the time they realize how much has changed, the larger decisions, where to live, how to spend their days, are already being made by others. Not because they were forced, because they let it happen, one small accommodation at a time. In the next part, we'll explore the early signs that you might be losing control of your life without even realizing it, and how to recognize them before it's too late. The shift happens quietly. At first, it feels like you're making choices. You agree to a little help because it's easier. You let small decisions slide because they don't seem important. But over time, the space where your voice used to be begins to shrink. It starts with things like meal choices. Someone else starts planning your groceries, picking what's healthiest without asking if you still enjoy it. They schedule your appointments based on their calendar, not yours. They adjust your living space, moving furniture, changing routines, without really involving you in the process. At first, these changes are explained in ways that are hard to argue with. They're just trying to help. It's for your safety. It saves everyone time. And so you stay silent. You tell yourself it's not worth the trouble to insist on choosing your own cereal or pushing back when someone rearranges your kitchen to make it easier. But every time you don't speak up, something small is taken. Not maliciously, not with bad intentions. It's just that life moves faster for the people around you than it does for you now. And convenience wins more often than respect. You realize it when visitors start making decisions during short visits, turning off lights, locking doors, managing medications, all before you have a chance to say if you want those things changed. You realize it when people talk about you more than they talk to you. The conversations about your living situation, your needs, your future. They happen at kitchen tables, in group chats, in quiet corners of your doctor's office. You're the subject, not the speaker. One day, a family member mentions, almost casually, that they've looked into a few places. You're invited into the conversation too late, after the assumptions have already been made. Losing control doesn't feel like a dramatic confrontation. It feels like disappearing one decision at a time. You still eat meals. You still live at home. But the feeling that your life belongs to you, that it reflects who you are, starts to erode. And once that erosion begins, it rarely stops without a fight. In the next part, we'll talk about how to recognize the line between real support and quiet erasure, and what steps you can take to defend your right to choose while you still have it. Protecting your independence doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you make small, deliberate choices every day to keep your voice strong and your life your own. One of the first places to start is with decision-making at home. If someone offers help, whether it's grocery shopping, organizing medications, or scheduling appointments, Insist on being part of the process, not after the choices are made. Before. It's not about rejecting support. It's about keeping your place at the table where decisions happen. Frank learned this too late. When his daughter began handling his shopping list, he thought it didn't matter. He trusted her to know what he liked. But over time, small changes crept in. Healthier foods he didn't enjoy, brands he never asked for. Meals became something he tolerated instead of something he looked forward to. He didn't say anything at first. It felt petty. It felt ungrateful. But it was the first signal that his preferences were slipping out of the conversation. Holding on to your right to choose means speaking up early, even about small things. It means saying, I still want to pick my own groceries. Or, please ask me before scheduling appointments. Or simply, I'm comfortable managing this myself. It feels uncomfortable at first, especially when people around you are trying to help. But staying silent isn't kindness. It's surrender. Another place where independence is quietly lost is in finances. Families often step in with good intentions, offering to simplify accounts, automate bills, take over banking. If you need assistance, build structures that keep you involved. Joint reviews of statements. 2 signatures for major decisions. Regular conversations about financial choices, even if someone else is helping execute them. You don't just hand over responsibility and disappear from the process. You stay present, active, informed. The same applies to medical care. Doctor's appointments shouldn't happen without your full involvement. Medication changes, treatment options, lifestyle recommendations. Your voice must lead the conversation, not be an afterthought. If a family member starts speaking for you at medical visits, interrupt politely. Reassert yourself. Say, I'd like to answer that. It may feel awkward, but allowing someone else to become your spokesperson, even with love, erodes your authority faster than you realize. Home environment matters too. It's easy for small changes to pile up without consent, moving furniture for safety, installing monitors, adjusting routines. Some adjustments are wise. Some are intrusive. The key is being involved, setting boundaries about what changes you agree to and what you don't. I appreciate your concern, but I'll decide how I want my home arranged. Simple, clear, firm. Even in conversations about the future, housing, healthcare, finances, your wishes must stay front and center. Not hinted at, not assumed. Spoken clearly and repeatedly. Margaret, who we met earlier, realized too late that her silence had been mistaken for consent. She assumed her family would understand what she wanted. They didn't. They acted based on what seemed safest, easiest, most manageable for them. If she had spelled out her wishes earlier, written them down, discussed them openly, her voice would have been harder to overlook. Planning doesn't mean you expect the worst. It means you protect your right to be heard when decisions grow harder. Living on your own terms doesn't require constant confrontation. It requires clarity, consistency, and the courage to insist, gently but firmly, that your life is still your own. In the next part, we'll bring everything together and talk about why dignity isn't something to be negotiated away, even when aging makes the fight harder. Aging brings change, but it should never mean giving up control over how you live. Dignity is not something granted by others. It's maintained by the choices you continue to make, even when life becomes more complicated. Holding on to dignity means staying part of your own decisions, not just about major life changes, but about everyday routines, when to wake up, what to eat, how to spend your day. Small decisions, repeated over time, shape whether your life still feels like it belongs to you. It's easy to let others take over under the banner of help. At first, it seems harmless to accept advice about medication schedules, home arrangements, or daily plans. But without clear involvement, small adjustments can quietly become a different way of living, one where you follow rather than lead. Protecting dignity requires deliberate action. It means making clear, early statements about your wishes. Where you want to live, what kind of assistance you would accept, how much independence you expect to keep. It means having these conversations before anyone assumes decisions will be made without you. It also means resisting the pressure to make life easier for others at the cost of your own autonomy. When well-meaning relatives or professionals start deciding what's best, it's critical to stay involved. Review plans, ask questions, offer input at every step. Frank's experience shows how important this is. When his daughter took over his grocery shopping and scheduling, he noticed the change. At first, he stayed silent to avoid tension. Eventually, he realized that accepting every arrangement without comment left him sidelined in his own life. Reasserting control didn't require confrontation. It started with small actions. Making his own lists, setting his own appointments, reminding others that his preferences mattered. Maintaining dignity doesn't mean rejecting support. It means making sure support respects the life you're choosing to live, not the life someone else imagines for you. This approach requires consistency. Speaking up once is not enough. Maintaining involvement demands steady participation in decisions large and small. Aging on your own terms doesn't guarantee ease. It guarantees that the years ahead will reflect your choices, your values, and your identity, not just other people's convenience or assumptions. The right to dignity does not expire with age. It remains as long as you insist on living according to your own terms and act to protect them. Independence doesn't vanish in a single moment. It fades when decisions are made without you, when routines are adjusted for you, and when silence replaces participation. But aging does not erase the right to live by your own choices. Everything we discussed comes back to one core truth. Staying in control doesn't happen by luck. It happens by preparation. If you want your later years to reflect your values, start shaping them now. Speak openly about your wishes, even if the conversations are uncomfortable. Make your preferences part of everyday life, not a secret to be guessed at later. Stay active in small decisions. What you eat, how you structure your days, who you spend time with. Control isn't maintained through one grand gesture. It's built choice by choice, day after day. If support becomes necessary, welcome it wisely. Help that respects your choices strengthens dignity. Help that replaces your voice weakens it. It's not about rejecting assistance. It's about staying at the center of your own life, even when the path grows harder. The future doesn't guarantee comfort, but it should guarantee that your life continues to feel like yours for as long as you are willing to protect it. What's one part of your life you absolutely want to decide for yourself, no matter what the future holds? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this message matters to you, share it with someone you love, and subscribe for more conversations about living with strength, clarity, and choice. Thank you for watching and for choosing not to disappear quietly.